Have you ever felt like you're just at war with yourself? You know what I'm talking about. Your head saying one thing, your heart is feeling something totally different, and then your actions, well, they go off in another direction entirely. Today, we're going to explore God's blueprint for our inner world. We're going to look at the anatomy of the soul and see God's incredible design for how we think, how we choose, and how we feel.
Okay, let's kick things off with this powerful idea. Our culture today, it really wants to tell us that we are our brains, that we're just a big bundle of neurons and chemicals. But what if the brain is just the hardware? This quote suggests that our mind, well, that's the spiritual software that's actually running the show. And let me tell you, that one single distinction changes absolutely everything about how we see ourselves.
So here's how I want us to approach this. Let's imagine that your inner life, your soul, is a house. And God himself is the architect. He designed every single room, every hallway with a specific purpose in mind. And today, we're getting a guided tour. We get to look at the original blueprints he drew up for you.
Now, just like our physical bodies are these incredibly complex, interconnected systems, our inner world is exactly the same. What you think about directly impacts how you feel, and how you feel can totally change what you think about. It's this intricate, amazing design. So let's lay out the key components that God put into that design.
Okay, this is kind of like our map for the tour. The soul is often understood to have these 5 main parts. You've got the mind, for thinking, the will, for choosing, the emotions, for feeling, the conscience, which is our built-in moral compass, and consciousness, our overall awareness of it all. Now, they're all super important, but for our time today, we're going to zoom in on the big 3, the ones we deal with every single day: our mind, our will, and our emotions.
First up is the mind. Let's think of it as the control tower of your soul. I love that image. It's the place where every thought has to get clearance before it can take off. It directs all the traffic of your entire inner world. And what happens up there in the tower, it really sets the course for everything else.
And this just reinforces that crucial distinction we started with. The brain is the physical organ, the hardware, but the mind is the spirit's tool, the software. That's why the Bible, in the book of Ephesians, talks about being renewed in the spirit of your mind. You see, you don't renew a physical organ. You renew how you think with that organ. And this verse right here is why the mind is so critical. The Apostle Paul tells us that real, lasting transformation, it doesn't come from just gritting your teeth and trying harder. No, he says it comes from the renewing of your mind. God's starting point for changing your life is always changing your thoughts. So you might be asking, okay, how do I renew it? Well, God built this incredible feature into our minds. It's called flexibility. The best way to think of it is as the power to change the channel. When you're stuck on that loop of worry or fear or bitterness, you are not a prisoner. You have the God-given ability to make a conscious U-turn.
And this mental U-turn, it can be surprisingly simple. There's an old hymn that says it perfectly. Count your many blessings. That's it. That's a mental U-turn. It's the active, conscious choice to pivot your focus away from your problems and onto God's provision. It's literally steering your mind off the road of worry and onto the highway of worship. So, if the mind is the control tower, what sets the final destination? Well, that's the will. I want you to think of your will as the rudder of your life's ship. It's a small part, really, but it determines your entire direction.
At its core, the will is simply the power to choose. And this is one of the most profound and frankly kind of terrifying gifts that God has given us. See, he didn't want robots that were programmed to obey him. He wanted children who could freely choose to love him. Because without the freedom to say no to God, our yes would be completely meaningless. And this fundamental choice is presented to us every single day. On one side, you have the rebellious will. It's summed up perfectly by Lucifer's 5-fold prideful chant in Isaiah. I will, I will, I will. But then on the other side, you have Jesus' perfectly submitted will in the garden. Not my will, but yours, be done. Every single decision we make aligns us with one of these 2 paths. All right, our final stop on this tour are emotions. Now, we've all heard the advice, don't let your feelings drive the car. And that's true, but that doesn't mean you should ignore them or stuff them in the trunk. God designed our emotions to be like the indicator lights on your car's dashboard. They're not supposed to steer, but they are absolutely meant to be signals.
So what are they? Well, emotions are feelings created in response to your thoughts or to an event. Now, this is critical to understand. They are effects, not causes.
So when a strong feeling like anxiety or anger lights up on your dashboard, that's a signal. It's your soul's way of saying, hey, check the engine. What thought is triggering this? Emotions are meant to be examined, not just blindly obeyed.
And God gave us this full spectrum of signals, didn't he? Everything from joy to sadness, from fear to anger. And even the ones we call negative emotions are gifts. Think about it. A bad smell isn't pleasant, but it's a life-saving warning that the food is rotten. In the exact same way, the discomfort of guilt is a gracious signal from God that we've wandered off course.
In fact, for centuries, wise Christians have used emotions as a tool for making decisions. When they'd face a choice, they would pray about each option and then just notice the emotional aftertaste. Did thinking about path A leave them with a sense of consolation, that feeling of deep rightness and peace? Or did path B bring a sense of desolation, that feeling of inner turmoil and grief? It wasn't the only test, but it was valuable data to bring before God.
So, we've looked at the control tower, the rudder, and the dashboard. Now let's see how God designed them all to work together. Because His goal isn't for these parts of you to be in constant conflict. His goal is for them to operate in a seamless harmony that makes you a whole person.
Because here's the bottom line. You are not a machine made of disconnected parts. You are a person, wholly and inseparably united. God sees you and loves the entire you, and His amazing design is for your inner life and your outer life to be beautifully woven together.
So here's what that harmony looks like in practice. It starts with the will. We choose to submit our direction to God. That submitted will then gives the mind its orders, focus on what is true, noble, and right. And a mind that is focused on God's truth will naturally produce guided emotions, things like peace and joy. You see the order? Will directs the mind, and the mind guides the emotions. That is the divine order.
And so that brings us to the final question, the only one that really matters today. Looking at this blueprint of your own soul, where is the misalignment? Is your mind just running wild with anxiety? Is your will stubbornly set against God's direction? Or are your emotions calling all the shots? Where, today, will you invite God's Spirit to come in and begin the beautiful work of restoration?